We'll just take a second to see if we have anyone else that's going to come in and join us. Mark, do you think we should jump in? Nope, you're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining this session. We wanted to dive into, more of the collaboration opportunities between water and the DRG sectors. So as we know, I think there's a lot of linkages cross-sectorally with water and agriculture or education and the health sectors, but it can be very challenging to collaborate and create projects, across different sectors, either in the design phase or in the design phase and trying to implement those. So we, wanted to then use and talk through and dive a little more into using the scorecard to help identify how this could be done more effectively, and also to get to hear from you and your organization's experience on perhaps what you've been finding in terms of designing projects that effectively get at and are producing some good governance outcomes as in implementing rural water projects. So I'll start with Brian, if you want to maybe pull up and you can share your screen with the scorecard framework, and we could give an example just of some of those questions, and then just we could pose in and get other people's experiences from them, if within their work of how they're looking at some of the governance outcomes that we are highlighting from the findings.
Sure, let's see if this works. Let's see here. Okay, are people able to see this? Okay. So this is just our example of where we went to try to make this a kind of more accessible for DG officers and to create a product that, like I mentioned during the slides, that that is able to identify kind of different gaps for water system in the water governance process. So, across the different PETA areas. So here we have accountability. We have our 7 questions related to accountability. We have 5 questions here related to inclusion. I can go slower, I guess, here. We have 3 questions related to participation. And then we have 5 questions related to transparency. And the goal is to use each one of these questions and do an evaluation either of a site or of kind of a project during the project planning process, and to give it a score of either yes, fully compliant, yes, partially compliant, or no. We would then link to additional resources of those other toolkits or the other tools that would give you more information of the kind of that would assist you in filling this gap. So, for example, this one is the service provider legally registered and working under a contractual framework. We would then link to other areas in our toolkit that talks about legal frameworks, that talks about contractual frameworks, and then provide the user more information about those. And then that would then link additionally to our actual research documents and provide much more detail, kind of where much more detailed information can be found around those areas. So I think my first question would be, I'd be interested to see if anyone else has experience kind of trying to do this kind of cross-sectoral work. So we're trying to set up a DG officer or an officer who's not someone who's a specialist in WASH, to work across different sectors to get kind of more familiarity into the WASH sector and be able to participate based on kind of their experience and their expertise. So I'd be interested if I could open up to the floor if anyone had any comments around any projects they're doing. How about this? Does anyone have any kind of questions about this process, or would you be interested in hearing more about this? What can we go over that might be interested for all you here? And let me see if I can get. Right now, I'm not seeing the chat, so feel free to even put it in the chat on the breakout room area as well. Linda.
Hi, I'm just wondering if you could elaborate on whose process this is, US aid, or whose process is this?
Mark, you want to go ahead? Or you want me to take it?
Yeah, no, I mean, for the process, we were focusing on water sector implementers and providers. So this is not an official USAID process, but we were from doing the research and doing the field work, we were putting it into these different buckets and then coming within this scorecard, looking across the kind of the water project design cycle to identify where the different program elements around governance could be identified.
Yeah, the goal. So talking with USAID. Go ahead, Linda. Sorry. So talking with USAID, they were interested in how we can get DG officers involved in the water sector, and so we went through kind of putting the water sector, looking at it through the PETA lens. And so our first step was really to figure out how we can take the tools and take the research that we conducted and then have a kind of a rapid, PETA assessment of these different water systems. And we thought that that would be an easy way or a convenient way to have a DG officer who may not be familiar with, wash technologies or how wash systems work, but have them become involved in the process to look at kind of how public service, how they can kind of get involved with these different transparency, how they get involved with improving the different kind of areas of PETA, which is important to the DG sector. Does that make sense?
So we've been working as a small provider in Ghana and Uganda, and for 6 or 7 years, and maybe I'm the only one on the phone, but I've actually never heard of this.
So
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mark.
No, I mean, we were, so again, we haven't, disseminated this or made this public in terms of like a resource. So we're just, we're completing and finalizing this research right now and looking at, trying, and developing some resources that can help think through these linkages and especially around the governance outcomes at a local level, around, and focusing on trust, accountability, equity, and transparency.
Linda, I'd be interested in, so I'm assuming that your experience as a small business is around, building water systems or at least in the wash sector. I'm wondering, do you take into consideration kind of these governance principles when you're assisting groups, or what's your process for kind of involving participation, for improving transparency, for getting these governance principles into your projects?
Right, so our main activity has been in Ghana, around the Ada and Kumasi area. We've had pretty good success in entering the sector through physicians caring for people who suffer a great deal from these waterborne problems. We have had a lot of struggle to get ourselves connected into the government and the people who actually govern the various districts that we work in. After 6 years of effort, we're finally getting meetings with the district consuls, etc. But it's been a tremendous struggle.
And so are you building water systems? Are you focusing on the health side of it? What's the intervention that you're focused on?
So I'm a co-founder of the group Easy Water for Everyone, and we install devices that purify the water using repurposed hemodialyzers, which take out all bacteria, viruses, etc. Produces about 250 liters of water an hour, and it's specifically targeted for villages that don't have electricity or sanitation. And so we're very niche. We're out in the remotest of remotest villages, very small. And we're just now getting involved, hopefully, with the district levels that are responsible for these various islands and so on and so forth. We've published, we have an article in Scientific Reports, Nature, on our diarrhea decrease of over 70% in our population. So yes, we're geared to the research side, the medical side. Many of our board members are physicians, but again, cracking the complexity of starting from, well, we've tried both. We've tried to start at the very top of government in the cities at the overall water and sanitation department. And then we've tried and tried and tried to go at the district level. And I just was thinking, is this some way of getting an understanding of how to do this, or get on a list of acceptable people, etc.?
So first of all, I'm aware of time. So if you want to put your information in the chat there, we can follow up with you with additional information as well. I think our goal with this is to look at these water systems. I think it's useful for what you're doing is to look at it through a governance lens, and that if you were to design a water system, and it sounds like you have a solid handle on the infrastructure components of it, but
Yes.
this is to look at, aside from that infrastructure component, we're not looking to see if the water system works or not. We're looking to see if the community and if the governance around the water system is operational, and if it is providing what is necessary to be a sustainable system. And so I think the kind of our tools would be useful for you on probably umbrella frameworks and different types of frameworks they have for kind of establishing best governance practices for your types of systems. And so we can follow up with more information for you specifically. I can't talk about your specific, I guess, complications with reaching out to government, because I'm not familiar with the details. But I think that we can provide you kind of different information around what we see as best practices that might be able to help you out.
Yeah, and just thank you. And sorry, I don't know if there's might be difficulty or challenges with the chat function on Pathable for this session. And I know we're over here, but if there's anyone else that'd like to just briefly talk about their experience or comments either on the findings or their experience of working in the rural water sector, and the organization's experience of focusing on governance outcomes within your projects, feel free to raise your hand now, and or message us in the chat function in Zoom here.
Yeah, I also provide my email there also, if you want to just email us. And if you have a question for either Mark or I or someone else in the group, feel free to just send us an email, and we can discuss further. Let's see. Any other questions or comments about kind of experience in the field around water governance at all? Mark, do you know, are we kicked out of here at 1:20, do you know, or?
No, but I think, if there's no other comments, we can end the session here. And I just wanted to say thank you to our sponsor, GIZ, for sponsoring this session. And thank you for your interest in this topic. And we look forward to, hopefully collaborating in the future. And as we look forward to sharing more about our findings as we complete the field work. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you both.
Thanks, Amanda. Hope you're well.
You too.